Welcome back to Twin Football. Jacob is here with me, and that means Premier League predictions, match week 11. I know you're going to have to do this one from a weird position, sitting second in the table after another decisive loss for Manchester City. 3 on the bounce now for you guys, but that is not where we start. We start today, a match week with Wolves taking on Southampton. Who
Yeah, a
you
little bit
got
of a
in this one?
spicy game to start out the weekend. Two bottom of the table teams desperate for a win. It's at Molineux here. Wolves coming off a 2-2 draw against Crystal Palace. Pretty solid result for them as Crystal Palace starts to pick up their form. Wolves still looking for their first win of the season. The last few results have been decent for them. After only 1 point in the first 7 matches, they have 2 in their last 3. I know that's not that much. It's not like they've got a long way to go, but relatively, that's a lot better than where they were in the beginning. So you got to take your wins where you can get them. I mean, Wolves might win this one. Let's see. They have double Southampton's goals, but have by far the worst defense in the league statistically. Southampton coming off their first win of the season, a 1-0 win against Everton. I don't think anyone expected that to happen. Everton has been playing very well as of late. Adam Armstrong got his first Premier League goal since returning to the Premier League. Good for him. Southampton held 66% of the possession. Granted, it was at home, but that's still very impressive. Sean Dyche likes his press, and Southampton was able to beat it a lot. They played out of the back as they normally do. We've criticized them for doing that, but they stuck to their game style, their game plan, and it paid off for them. We'll see if they can beat the Wolves press now away from home if they go with that same kind of play style. Ramsdale had one of the saves of the season on that header. I'm not really sure how Everton didn't win or didn't score. At least they had a few off the post. They had an offsides overturned by VAR, and it was off by about half an inch. But fair play to Southampton. They got the shutout. I don't think they get a clean sheet this weekend. I like Wolves getting their first win of the season at Molineux.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Everton definitely felt going to feel hard done by not getting. I mean, even the Southampton winner came a minute after Everton hit the crossbar on a goal that they definitely should have had.
Right,
Multiple
the Beto header,
opportunities.
yeah.
The Beto header. And that's exactly for me why when Everton go to West Ham, I'm actually hoping that Beto gets the start. He should have had that late. He did have that late goal as well that got chucked off for offside shortly afterwards. A great cross and a bring down first touch and a chip of the keeper all in the same fluid motion from the top of the box. Definitely one that you want to stand slightly offsides, but I'm hoping Beto gets the start. I'm also wondering if Branthwaite's going to come back into the fold, been a sub over the last couple of weeks, and they
Right.
travel to a West Ham team that, let's be honest, Lopetegui is like Doug Peterson in the NFL with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are just waiting for the international break for him to get sacked. That is it.
Yeah, it's
Doug
coming.
Peterson is going to get fired from Jacksonville, and Lopetegui needs to be sacked for West Ham for this to be turned around. That 2-1 win against United was so great for West Ham because they, one, didn't deserve it, but then it got Eric Ten Hag fired, which is what nobody else wanted because we wanted Eric Ten Hag to stay because Eric Ten Hag, you know. But anyway, so even when they win, they still lose. That's West Ham this season. I have no faith in them. They've let up 4 to Tottenham. They've let up 3 to Forest and a red card last week.
Three
They're
to
conceding
Chelsea.
goals.
Yeah.
3 to Chelsea. You know, they lost, I think, 5-1 maybe in the League Cup to Liverpool. It's just not going well. I like Everton to go in there and get the win here. Like you said, they have been playing well over the last couple of weeks. Only 2 goals against in the last 4, 4 goals against in the last 6. Overall, great performances. They deserve to get something out of that Southampton game. I think they'll get some points back here against West Ham.
Yeah, I like it. Next up, we got Brentford taking on Bournemouth in West London. Brentford coming off a 2-1 loss against Fulham. They tried to park the bus towards the end of that game to hold on to their 1-0 win, but Harry Wilson had other ideas. They were winning until the 92nd minute. Harry Wilson, out of nowhere, pulls a Scott McTominay last couple minutes brace to win the game for Fulham.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Brentford, though, undefeated home record this season. They've been great at home. Bournemouth is traveling here, but they've had arguably the best run of form in the last 3 games. They're coming off a 2-1 win against Manchester City, a fully deserved win. It's not like they got lucky with these goals. It could have been 3-4-1. Semenyo with a goal and a hockey assist on the winner. He's been playing great. I'm sure that'll continue. Evan Nielsen now with goals in back-to-back games. It looks like he might be finally finding his Premier League form after signing from Portugal. They've got 7 points out of 9 against City, Arsenal, and Villa. Who would have guessed 3 weeks ago that the hottest teams in the Premier League are Bournemouth and Forest? I'm really excited for this matchup. I can't pick against Bournemouth now with their run of form. I feel like this might be a draw if I take away the recency bias here, but I'm going Bournemouth because they just look too good right now, and I love Semenyo.
Yeah, even if you take away their only loss in the last 5 games was the game against Chelsea, and everyone kind of feels like they actually should have won that game, but failed there to get anything on the board. Crystal Palace are going to look to bounce back and get a win here against London rivals in Fulham. Palace had a great end to October, that great win against Tottenham, the win against Aston Villa in the cup as well, but they lost Eze in that cup game, a 2-2 draw last time out against Wolves. They might feel like they should have gotten a little bit more from that game. So they're going to look to do that at home against a Fulham team who has had these great results, 3-1 win against Newcastle, for example, a couple of weeks ago. What can they bring, though, against Crystal Palace? Obviously, we love Smith Rowe. I think he's been one of the signings of the season so far. But I actually like the Trevor Chalobah signing a little bit more for Crystal Palace. Since he's come into that back three, they've played extremely well. Both center backs, Gahey and Chalobah, played together at youth level at Chelsea. Both of them on the score sheet over the week against Wolves as well. But they've been playing really well. The loss of Eze, though, has been pretty huge. You get in Ketia on that right-hand side, or Sarr. They're going to flip-flop. Mateta obviously should be starting up top again. And it just looks like the midfield from the attack is now separated. They don't have that player to help them transition at pace. And so I think for that reason, I like a low-scoring game here. Maybe Palace can nick it late, but I'm going for a draw in some capacity, a low-scoring draw here for Palace and Fulham.
Yeah, even last year with Elise losing Eze was pretty big for them. He's just such a great playmaker. They love to play on the counter. He's got so much pace. That's tough. Next up, we got a spicy one. Brighton taking on Manchester City at the Amex. Brighton coming off 2 straight losses to Liverpool, one in the Carabao Cup and one in the Premier League. They lost both games by only the 1 goal, but they were, in my opinion, outclassed. And each of them looks like João Pedro might be back, which will be huge for their attack. Welbeck has Welbeck has been on fire this season, but in 19 top flight meetings, he's never scored against Manchester City. I couldn't believe it when I read that at all the games. Manchester City coming off that 2-1 loss to Bournemouth that we just talked about, and a 4-1 loss to Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League. It's the first time they lost 3 in a row since 2018. They love saying that over and over again. That's all I can hear about. They're going to try to stop that here. It's still only their first Premier League loss of the season. It's not time to hit the panic button by any stretch of the imagination. Everyone needs to calm down. KDB made a return as a substitute in the Champions League. It was the one good thing that happened in that game. He played about 10 minutes. He looked so good. He always looks so good. Everyone keeps talking about him going to San Diego for their first MLS season next year. And I just want, again, just stop hitting the panic button. He's still one of, if not the best player in the Premier League. Please just simmer down here a little bit, everyone. In my opinion, Guardiola needs to play Kyle Walker as a right back. I think Matoma has too much skill and pace for Rico Lewis to start there. I'm really excited for this matchup. The Amex is always hard to play. I'm going for Manchester City. I think just with the last few games, they're due for a bounce back game.
Yeah, but I think it should be a good one. I think every single team in Europe would trade a Champions League group stage loss for welcoming back Kevin De Bruyne. So I think Manchester City may have lost on the scoreline, but definitely get a win with him coming back to the lineup. That game is actually one of the games I'm looking forward to the most. A lot of people are actually looking forward to Liverpool versus Villa the most. These two teams before last week were the only two undefeated teams in the Champions League before last week. Villa, obviously, with the craziest loss you'll ever see in any game, especially a Champions League.
Oh my God.
And so yeah, absolutely ridiculous with that handball from Mings to get that penalty and lose in that fashion to break your undefeated streak in the Champions League. But they take on Liverpool, who are unbeaten in the Champions League, who are atop of the Premier League table. The only team to have not lost in the last 5 games in the Premier League. They continue strong under Arne Slot. Villa also has the record of not being able to win a single game when playing midweek since they started playing midweeks after that win against Young Boys in the Champions League. That game against Manchester United was one of their worst performances. I think it's the only reason why United were able to get a draw in that game. Going to Anfield after going to Club Bruges in Belgium is going to be too much. I like Liverpool comfortable here. I think a 2-0 win, midweek play, the midweek travel is going to be too much for a team like Villa this season. A big reason why I had them finishing closer to mid-table when this was all said and done. But give me Liverpool at home.
Yeah, I think Jurgen Klopp was right to make that chant for Arne Slot before he even came in. He's been doing brilliant. Next up, we got Manchester United taking on Leicester City at Old Trafford. United coming off that 1-1 draw against Chelsea. They have to be happy with that result against a great team in Chelsea. They had a 2-0 win in the Europa League yesterday. Amad Diallo with a brace. He didn't start against Chelsea last weekend. We'll see if he earned a start this weekend. Lee Carsley, the English interim manager, has not selected Mainu or Maguire for the England squad in the upcoming international break as they continue to ride United's bench. That's got to be a tough time for these two, but I really have to back the manager's decision. Casemiro has revived after Ten Hag's sacking, and I don't see why he shouldn't start alongside Ugarte. We'll see if Mainu can fight for his spot back, though, especially with the new manager coming in after this one. United are undefeated after sacking Ten Hag. Maybe they should just stick with Van Nistelrooy. I don't think so. I think Ruben Amorim will be good for them. Officially, the manager after this next one. Leicester City was the first team that Van Nistelrooy coached against, losing 5-2 at Old Trafford. He gets to play the first game and the fourth game under Van Nistelrooy. A little bit unfortunate timing. Leicester fans will feel hard done by that. They had that interim manager boost. It's hard to play teams after that. All the players are trying to prove themselves to the new manager. So Leicester City fans will feel a little bit hard done. Leicester coming off the 1-1 draw against Ipswich Town. They would have liked, obviously, to win the game against another promoted side, but it was away, so they'll be happy to get some result. They've hovered around that 15th spot for a little while in these last few weeks, but they really need to start getting some results. I think Everton and Crystal Palace are really starting to pick up the form, and they might leapfrog them in the next coming weeks. And I expect them to really. I'm going United at Old Trafford. I don't think it'll be 5-2 like the last one, but I think they win this pretty easily.
Yeah, Leicester having 10 points so far, I think is actually maybe ahead of what many people would have thought under Steve Cooper to start the season. Obviously, West Ham is 1 point above them, so you got to expect West Ham to keep dropping as well. So hopefully they can battle that. But I agree, they're going to want to pick up points. I just don't think that this one will be it. Newcastle looking to pick up points as they continue their fine last couple of days, beating Chelsea in the Cup, beating Arsenal last week at St. James's. But this one is on the road at Nottingham Forest, who, like you mentioned, is one of the hottest teams in the Premier League, unbeaten in their last 3 consecutive wins on the bounce here in the Premier League. Nuno has that team playing well, battering West Ham last week 3-0. Chris Wood is on fire. I don't know that we would have said that so far after 10 games, that Chris Wood is one of the most prolific goal scorers in the Premier League so far.
Go Kiwis.
Go Kiwis indeed. And I think go Kiwis again here. Give me a 1-0 Nottingham Forest win at home at the City Ground as they keep their place in the top 4. And, before we get to it, because the last game here is Chelsea Arsenal, I would like to keep the top 4 as only teams that have won the Champions League. So let's just keep that. I think it should be a rule of thumb. And now you may go into Tottenham.
Okay, good rule of thumb. Tottenham taking on Ipswich Town. Tottenham coming off a huge 4-1 win against Aston Villa. We correctly picked Tottenham to win that one, but I have to be honest, I did not see it going the way it did. What a huge win. Son got an assist for the first goal, but then got subbed off when it was still 1-1 in the 56th minute.
Huge.
At the time, I really didn't like the sub, but they went on to win 4-1. So fair play to Postecoglou. I don't know if he had a little bit of a knock. I really hope not. Tottenham has been looking so good after Son has returned from injury. I hope he stays healthy. They're so much fun to watch when he's on the pitch. Ipswich Town coming off that 1-1 draw against Leicester City. Calvin Phillips got a red card to put them in a tough spot. Silly challenge on the yellow, and he just deserved that. I don't know what he's thinking going in cleats up when you're on a yellow. Calvin Phillips has really not played so well. I was excited for this signing. I didn't think he should stay with City. I wanted him to go on loan or to get sold. And I thought Ipswich Town might be a good spot for him, but he's made some poor mistakes and he's really going to have to pick up his game. He's suspended for this one, obviously. Jordan Ayew scores in the 94th minute after Ipswich went down to 10 men. That's tough. They could have had a really important home win otherwise. They have one more game at home against the promoted side in Southampton. They're going to have to win that game. I like Tottenham. Nothing but Tottenham here. I don't see Ipswich scoring and Tottenham winning comfortably.
Yeah, definitely not a game that Ipswich or Ed Sheeran had circled on their calendar as picking up 3 points, maybe a point.
A weekly shout to Ed.
Oh, he's gotta stay on here. Chelsea are going to look to pick up all 3 points at home against Arsenal for the first time since 2018. Yes, since 2018, it's been since Chelsea has beaten Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. We talked about it a little bit earlier this week, so go check out that video about Chelsea, Enzo Maresca, and where Chelsea's expectations need to lie. So I won't go too much into that, but I will say Chelsea can't be resting players, can't be knocked out of these types of competitions like the League Cup with having their best players riding the bench here while resting in the Conference League, and play against these teams who are playing week in, week out, midweek, like Arsenal are, travel to Inter Milan midweek, and not compete. We drew United last weekend after resting everybody when United had to play their starters in the League Cup. We failed to beat Liverpool, failed to beat Manchester City, a good win against Newcastle, but not of that necessary caliber of an Arsenal, City, or Liverpool. So Chelsea need to get something from this game. You can't be having this giant squad and the ability to play in all these competitions and then lose against the better teams in the Premier League. You have to compete. And I know we haven't beaten them at Stamford Bridge in 6 years. We have beaten them a couple times at the Emirates, but we need to get something out of this game. Odegaard got some minutes midweek, so he will most likely be starting here for Arsenal, which is a huge pickup for them in their midfield to get him back. But Reece James, I think, will play left back here. Gusto on the right side, I think, will be enough. We'll see if Cucurella actually will come back on the left side and Reece James move over to the right. But either way you look at it, if it's Cucurella or it's Reece James on the left-hand side, they should be able to deal with Saka. I think Arsenal's inability to score, they haven't scored in over 200 minutes in the Premier League, is a worry going into this game. Yes, they get Odegaard back, but they haven't been able to put the ball in the back of the net. When you're going against Cucurella or Reece James with your best player, the one who's only been able to create anything for this team, I think it bodes well for Chelsea. So I really want to go a 2-1 win here for Chelsea. I do think Arsenal will get a goal due to a Chelsea mistake before the midweek against FC Noah, who sit 4th in the Armenian League. Chelsea have given up 8 consecutive games with a goal against, and a lot of those defensive mistakes. I don't see anything different against Arsenal here. I really want to go to 2-1 win, but I think this will end as a 1-1 draw. But Chelsea can't lose this game. And I think Arsenal fans...
You psyched us out. Everyone's so excited for the Chelsea win, man.
I know. I want it. I want to say it. You know what? Let's do it. Let's go it. Let's do it. Chelsea win. Give me Chelsea. Give me all 3 points. Give me the first win since 2018. Give me
Let's
top
go.
4. Push Arsenal out of the title race altogether. Give me Chelsea all 3 points. Let's go.
No, I can't wait for the Arteta press conference after that.
Oh, it's going to be the refs. We know the refs are going to be a problem because Michael
Yeah,
Oliver's
just
already
like
been
midweek
assigned
against
to it.
Inter Milan, even though they
Oh.
blocked the whole ball with on the shot on target.
Yeah, and they're out of the title race with a loss. I know Arsenal fans are going to feel that way. They're going to end up being 10 points back after 11 match weeks. No one saw that coming, but give me Chelsea all 3 points, like you said. And that'll do it for all of us here at Twin Football. Enjoy the football this weekend.